At the tone, please record your message. When you are finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, this is Ann. Give me a call back when you get a chance.
Sometimes, after leaving a message like that, I worry maybe I said, "Your kids are ugly." or worse, "I want to mutilate your dog in front of your kids." And it's okay to laugh. Laughing's good. I think, did I just say her kids are ugly? Please tell me I did not just say her kids are ugly. And besides, her kids are super cute. Why would I say they're ugly? But if I did say they're ugly, she's gonna hate me. You can't come back from telling someone their kids are ugly. She's never gonna want to talk to me again, tell everyone I'm a horrible person. I'm gonna lose all my friends. I'm gonna lose everything that I love. I'm gonna die inside. And this repeats over and over and over in my mind. And it's not a fleeting thought that pops in and then pops out. It becomes all-consuming. My challenge is obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. And my fear, textbook, normal. I am not alone. 8 to 9 million Americans, that's almost twice the population of Louisiana, suffer from OCD. Take a peek inside the minds of us with this disorder. It's hyperactive and supercharged, even when the brain is at rest. When I first saw the OCD brain scan, it was like looking into a beautiful piece of art that showed something in my soul that I knew but couldn't quite describe. I believe my OCD was triggered at an internship. There was a group of us, we all lived, worked, and hung out together. I said something mildly negative on the phone about a peer. And next thing you know, no one would talk to me for a week. I experienced a temporary social death, just like in that scenario I gave earlier. And it was miserable. It was only a week, but it was a horrible, horrible week. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My chest was caving in. Knives felt like they were coming out. I was trying to type an email, and I couldn't type because my hands were so cold because the blood had rushed away from my extremities. And then for 3 years, I'd spend about 4 hours a day in this panic state. The first time it hit, it was a few weeks after coming back from the internship. I sent an email to a friend, and his wife had just broken her arm. I very appropriately said, "I'm sorry your wife broke her arm." But after hitting send, I wondered, did I write, "I'm glad your wife broke her arm"? And I had that same anxiety I had back in the internship until he replied. So this held me back professionally and in relationships. But really, the biggest way that it held me back was it kept me from enjoying the wonderful, beautiful life that I have, the wonderful friends, the wonderful family, the job that I very much enjoy. And OCD is sometimes called a time thief because it robs us of those precious moments of our lives and replaces them with fear and anxiety, and we can never get that back. Fortunately, I found a book that explained what I was going through was actually a disorder. And I was so relieved to learn this. That night I went home and journaled about this discovery. And I still remember the pile of tissues I had next to me as I realized that 4 hours of anxiety a day that made me think I was going crazy or had some massive character flaw because these thoughts popped into my head at all was actually a a disorder and that I wasn't alone in what I was going through. So, you may be sitting here right now and thinking, wait, do I have OCD? And so we are going to explore this a little bit. So I'm going to do a little exercise with y'all. So the first thing I'd like for you to do is think of a silly word or phrase. And with this exercise here, we're trying to determine the difference between an OCD thought and just a regular distressing thought. So you got your silly word, okay. So then now I'm going to go through a couple scenarios. If you've ever had a thought like this, even one time, I'm going to need you to clap your hands for me. Did I leave the stove on? All right, pretty normal. If I jerked my hand right now, I would totally drive off this bridge. Especially on the I-10 bridge, right? So, what if I just picked up that knife and stabbed him? I am proud of Lafayette's honesty right now. Thank you for being in this with me. And now let's get that silly word back into your head. What if, and if you've ever had this thought, I want you to yell that silly word. What if I just yelled out in the middle of this presentation? Awesome. We've all been there. I'm glad I let y'all get that out a little bit. So the difference between these thoughts and your OCD thought is the OCD thought is sticky. It gets stuck to a distressing feeling, and that thought, with its distressing feeling, go on a seemingly endless loop inside your mind. To make this loop end, sufferers engage in compulsions. Compulsions temporarily break that cycle, but the obsession soon comes back, requiring more compulsions. And what's worse, the compulsions themselves are debilitating. Think of the germaphobe who washes her hands so many times she's late for work and arrives with raw skin. Or the person who's so afraid of driving their car off the bridge, they stop driving completely. For me, I avoided phones. But the thing is, avoidance doesn't work. In the words of psychologist Dr. Mike McDermott, we can't get rid of thoughts by trying to get rid of thoughts. To demonstrate, if I told you, do not think about a dog wearing glasses, chances are you're probably thinking about a dog wearing glasses. So, if obsessions fail and compulsions fail, how do we treat OCD? Well, the answer is weirder than you think. Exposure and response prevention therapy, or exposure therapy, by embracing the fear, we take away its power. We may still have that thought. Oh, this is a thought. We may still have the thought, but that associated distress detaches. The mental loop breaks, the breakthrough occurs. So let's take our germaphobe. She may put her hand in the toilet. So immediately, there's an overwhelming sense of anxiety. But eventually, she just gets bored. And that boredom is where that breakthrough is. So how then do I treat my fear of saying something so horrible I become a social outcast? Well, Been in therapy since 2004 with Dr. Catherine Elliott, and she's wonderful. We've made great progress. We've done some of this exposure therapy in her office and said some of those very things I've been afraid of saying on voicemails, like, I hope your dog drops dead on your doorstep. And now I'm down from about 4 hours of anxiety a day to 4 hours a week. Whoa. Ah. Thanks. Thank you. But I want to take my therapy to the next level. And I'm doing that by standing before you today. Welcome. Every aspect of this process has been exposure therapy for me. To apply, I had to write down and share with other humans in writing and in recordings on video about my obsessions. I've come out to family and spoken openly with friends and then even neighbors and colleagues about this disorder. I even, with the receiver's permission, left some of these exposure messages, things I would endure hours of anxiety just at the thought of. I actually did, and people found it quite funny, apparently. Which is really pretty awesome when you have like your think of your worst fear in the whole world, and then it's just kind of funny to people. That's great. And now I'm coming out to you, my larger community, about my disorder. And soon, once the video is uploaded, to the world. So I'm doing this talk to help myself, but I'm also doing it to help others who are suffering with OCD. Sufferers often endure alone, not knowing they have a common disorder. And since so many of the obsessions deal with moral matters, they may even think they're a bad person. But paradoxically, a high regard for social taboos actually feeds the disorder. If you're suffering from OCD, I want you to know these thoughts do not make you a bad person. There is treatment, and it can be managed. And last, this talk is a challenge to you who do not have obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now that you've had exposure, I hope your response is one of understanding and support. Seemed like the ending, right? But before I go, I have one more thing to do. I'm going to call my best friend.
This is Maria. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
I ran over your cat on purpose. Thank you.